the image of a strong black mother giving her son what I would call a love whooping.
That's what mothers need to be doing. If your kids run out on the street, it should have been a war between mothers and sons.
They need to have their butts at home. They need to be in their home units with their families studying and doing something with their life.
Toya Graham recognized her son among the crowds on Monday, clutching a brick, and she felt compelled to do something. CNN commentator Charles Blow is joining me. Media strategist Tara Wall is here. And DJ Bryant, who grew up in the Sandtown Winchester neighborhood, the same neighborhood where Freddie Gray lived. Can we go right down the row and react to the parenting? Because that has caused so much of a reaction. When I first saw Toya Graham, I was in the hell yes category. And then I read an essay that Stacey Patton wrote in the Washington Post where she said, wait a minute, rethink this, because you're putting a lot of emphasis now on a young African-American male and you're not focused on the drivers of the behavior. Charles, you go first.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily criticize the mother. I think that she's reacting in the moment. It's relatively spontaneous. She's reacting probably out of love and fear and anger and not wanting to have her son involved in that. I do believe, however, that we as a public and we as a media are fetishizing this violence on that kid in that video and in that moment and the constant replaying of that.
In other words, he becomes the embodiment of everything.
I think the idea that we want to cheer the violence on that black body, but we can't cheer it if somebody else does it, but we can cheer it if she does it.
And there's something
perverse. There's something perverse about the way we are reacting to it. Not necessarily her reaction. Her reaction seems legitimate, but I think our reaction to it is perverse.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I agree. I think that, I mean, I certainly don't condone putting hands on children on a personal level, but, you know, like that would have been my mother or my father, frankly. I mean, honestly, I think that you have to, media in particular focuses in sometimes on the wrong things. I think no one condones, and probably looking back, she may not have used as much force perhaps, but you're missing the entire point of the narrative of what she's saying. This is my son. This is not going to happen to him. I taught him better. He knows better. He should be doing better. You know, that's the whole picture that needs to be painted, or the story that needs to be told. We can talk about all day about her tactics, but look at the intent behind it and the reason that she did it. My mother said to me yesterday, you know, she said, the scripture comes to me, you know, the righteous take it by force. That was her kind of motto as a parent. You know right, you know to do right. If I have to go down there and take you by force, I will.
DJ, my mother had a yardstick that she got at the hardware store. My brother and I, when we did something wrong, we would hide it because we knew she'd go looking for it. How did you react to that video?
You know, I think it's just going back to, you know, the generations before. You know, growing up, now in this generation, it's more, you know, parents are really trying to be their child's best friend. She really went old school, and she showed them that, you know, you won't be out here defying and disobeying law. You're going to be respectful, and you're going to take care, you're going to do the right things as an American citizen. You know, I applaud her, because a lot of parents nowadays wouldn't do that. It's a lot of kids raising themselves, especially in the inner city Baltimore. So, you know, just for her to step up in that way, you know, I take my hat off to her.
Charles, in your newspaper this week, Justin Wolfers, The Economist, and two colleagues printed some data that I think really sparked a national conversation about the 1.5 million missing African-American men. Missing why? Because death prematurely or because they're incarcerated. That's a positive outcome from all of this, right? To talk about where have all these individuals gone.
I think it's a positive outcome from all of this. I think, and even before they published that article, Forbes did the same analysis about Ferguson. They found that of the marriage age young people, half of the young black men are missing from that community. We had a long conversation about Ferguson before, and that informs all of our discussions and all the intersectionalities of discussions about family structures. If there are two women for every man, that informs a lot about why kids more likely to be born without a parent at home. It informs how much economic influence is coming into the home. It influences a lot that's happening, and so we can't have these discussions as if they are discrete factors. They're in fact not discrete factors. All of these things overlap.
So what to do about it?
Well, frankly, you know the impacts of what happens when parents are involved, right? We see the results of that. We talk about the single mother. 65%, I believe, single mothers here in the Baltimore area is the number I saw. I also saw a story about a father who said, look, my kid, I told him to do the same thing. I told him not to go out there. He went out there anyway, got arrested. Never been arrested in life, never been in law enforcement. The fathers are present. There are fathers who are present, and for those who aren't, the mothers do step up and need to step up. But remember, there are fathers who are also speaking to their sons, who are getting involved, who are saying this is not the norm, should not be the norm. There is a lesson to be learned in this, and we need to start teaching them better and doing better.
If we alter policing strategies, though, as a result of this conversation, we decide, well, too many have been locked up, therefore the minor crimes are not those that we're going to enforce, the communities that will most suffer are those affected by the very statistics that we're talking about.
I don't necessarily think so. I think the bigger picture to me is just we're getting away from community raising kids. And, as a society, we've all turned our back on, this generation. I think what happened on Monday was their outreach and their scream for help. It's a gap. It's a gap between law enforcement and the African-American community because these young kids are seeing cops take away their brothers and dads. So, I think that also played, some role into it.
Charles, I would like to think that the community is quieting down here now and that Baltimore has gotten through this and that the curfew will soon be raised. I'm troubled as an attorney as I now look at this legal case by its component parts. It's no slam dunk, in my opinion, and there's much more that we still need to learn about it. I worry about this community and other communities if there are not convictions in this particular case.
Well, I think we should worry about that, and we should worry about the mixed signals that we are sending to
How
kids,
so?
right? I think that we keep saying that we want a restoration of peace, we want a restoration of calm, and yet it wasn't until there was violence in the streets that we show up, that all of these cameras around here show up. It's not, and that is what history teaches us across history, is that it takes the drama of scale or it takes the drama of some sort of violence to make people focus attention. And I think that is a real problematic message that we're sending to these children. And we're also sending the message to a lot of these children that property matters more than people. If you have bail set for a young man who destroys a cop car and it's set at $500,000, and the bail for the people who are accused of killing Freddie Gray is set at a lower level, that is a very mixed signal.
I think part of it too, the media has to also refocus some of its efforts. I mean, we see this wall-to-wall coverage of the violence and all of that, and sometimes violence incites violence in some ways. I'm not blaming the media. I think, but if we focus on the things like the process itself, these folks are still innocent until proven guilty, as the mayor pointed out. These folks are still going through trial, and the parents themselves ask for the process to take hold. Not even that they get convictions, but that that their son be treated, his memory be treated fairly, that the judicial system works and the process works it out. And sometimes we get that mixed up. We get it backwards when we're doing this wall-to-wall coverage of outrage and people's passion. There is a place for that and there's a time for that, but we also have to educate the community about the local system, the federal system, the state system, how it works, how we can better communicate and work with the system from the local, state, and federal levels.
I think you've said more clearly than I was able to say. I hope people will buy into now the system needs to work. Unless something egregious should unfold and be reported on, we need to trust in what's about to play itself out, because these six are still innocent until proven guilty.
And not just pontificate and make assumptions and speculate. Sometimes there is wall-to-wall speculation. We need more, process and policy and facts than pure speculation.
But the truth is that it is the system that is on trial as much as it is these 6 officers in this particular case.
That's valid.
And I think that we're seeing a situation where we're having a whole generation of people losing faith in the system itself. That it may not work well for people who look like me. And that, I think, undercuts the very basis of our democracy.